Hello, my name is James Caddell, and I am currently finishing my project on GA240. As you can see from this view, I am showing off my underwater sea dragon temple. Here's a big overview of the place. It is surrounded by a very tall valley of sand, and I'm actually going to bring the lighting over just to raise the lighting, just to make everything a lot easier for y'all to see. So we're going to just reduce the intensity and change these to more of a brighter color, just to bring out the nice light of everything, just so you can see more textures and everything. There we go. There we go. Now that's nice. That's nice. Very nice. Okay, let's move this right back over. Right back over. So we'll start with the portal, which is over here. So let's just get my camera and turn the camera. Oh, try to click on it. There we go. We'll focus on that. And so starting with the portal, as you can see, it has a static image. I wasn't able to actually add anything like special animation to it, but I will be working on that later on for my portfolio. I gave it a greenish stone texture because I wanted to give that the mossy, very earthy feel. I also gave it some crystals, which you cannot see at the moment, but they are. I wanted to add emissions, but I just did not have time to add emissions to make them glow. I also dug it in a little bit into the sand to give it more of a grounded texture. Let's see if I can actually make the sand a little bit brighter. It seems to be uh, on the low side. I'm not exactly sure why it's not showing at all. But for some reason the sand is just not showing. Anyway, moving on to the next object, we got our podium, which this is kind of like a magical podium that you put. It's supposed to have like different symbols and different words and meanings that actually activate and allow this portal to be opened. And of course, with right behind it, you can see I have little piping that goes from the machine down on the ground into the portal to make it actually activate. Across the ways, I had a little bit of mess up here, but I can definitely easily fix it. Down here, you see the four pillars that lead to the main Sea Dragon Temple. I gave them kind of like a little, very, very rustic, molded color because I wanted them to originally be almost like a pale light color, almost like a clay. But I'm like, okay, well, I want to kind of keep with the greenish motif, and so I kind of added both a rock texture and actually a bloody flesh texture, which kind of gives it that rippling, weird texture that makes it almost look like it has like maybe like growing moss or growing organism on it, like maybe possibly like a reef or something could be growing off of it. Next is the stairwell that leads up to the temple itself. Now, I originally had the stairwell in two different colors. Almost the original image actually almost looked like it came out of like a Silent Hill film. Like the stairwell had like almost like a brownish black color. The side railing had almost like a wooden, bloody texture. But I just didn't think it would fit the motif of how everything is. So I just kind of went with the same green motif that I did with the portal, trying to mix and match and keep them kind of similar. Also, figured just to give it kind of like a little bit better design than just a simple staircase. Also, you took the piping and put them on the side of the staircase. And of course, now I realize that it kind of bleeds into this box right here, which we can just slightly move over out of the way. Also, you can see these two crates I added to kind of once again They didn't really use much of metal. They kind of moved. They kind of used a lot of wood. So I'm like, okay, let's make two little small crates, and that's where most people would put the offerings and other possessions that would need to be in a temple. We can go back a little bit, back it up a little bit, and also have, because once again it's a old ancient temple. I decided to have like a warrior decide to maybe leave a gift behind of an old, quiver. Maybe this could be like a warrior's temple. Could be anything, and I just figured a nice simple leather texture would also represent the sea dragon as a whole, showing the reptilian kind of skin. Going to the main front door, as you can see, there is a lot of scratching. I try to do some of the unwrapping, but unfortunately, the way the project was, it only unwrapped the center, and even then, it was a very unclean wrap. I was able to manage to keep the main symbol on the front, which was my main goal. And I did want to change the color, but because of I'm still new beginner at Substance Painter, I wasn't able to change the color much. So I was just happy that it actually was a different color than the background, which made it a lot easier to keep the actual visual of, hey, having a background or having an actual door with a symbol on it. Next, we'll go to the two stained glass windows, which I wanted to originally make them reversed. I admit, I forgot. I apologize. So I went with, once again, try to keep the same stone as the wall itself, and I added an actual image of what earlier of a stained glass that I had. This image is, or I believe it should be translucent, but it doesn't seem to transfer over whenever I actually did it. You can see that it is translucent a little bit. It's just, I guess it's not fully like I wanted, but that is fine because another thing I can fix for later. Also, each one of these is actually a brick. I had to do a lot of copying and doubling up and putting them in children spaces so that I could just keep copying. I left a few holes in there just to kind of make it look like it's dilapidated and it's falling apart and it's not as pristine and pretty as it once been. If you want to look at a nice little brick texture like that, it's very basic. Just I wanted to keep it simple because I didn't want to take away from the rest of the collage. Uh, Down here, you can barely see it because it just didn't mold well. But once again, the sand for some reason is not showing. I am not sure why. Let's move this back, get more bigger view. This is supposed to be a gem texture that was supposed to blend in with the ground, but it just did not. Like, once again, for some reason, the ground is missing, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I made my own gems as well, and just kind of put them on top of the pile to kind of give that sense of both 3D and 2D look. Next, we have the barrel, which has three rusted spears in it. I kind of kept the barrel pretty basic. A barrel actually was one of my first projects I ever worked on in my 3D environment. Uh, that we had a more simple version, but once again, I kind of used the same bars as the spears to kind of keep the same rust color. And I actually used for the barrels and the crates and the spears. I used also the tiling trim sheets, and I also use a trim sheets for something else. I'm just not. I just can't think of it. As far as this object goes, this was originally gonna be a stone obelisk with like a almost like a stone leaves, but I thought that would once again make it too like dark and gloomy. So I decided to kind of like okay, well, what would a temple have under like they have pearls. So I decided to make this into a pearl, and the the fern under it, which it will not let me grab for some reason, it is being difficult. It's actually doing whatever it's trying to do. Let's see if I can find the fern. It's actually one of the first things I made. There it is. This is actually from our project practice project where we were learning how to do the trees and uh, stuff like that. So I just took that and put that back in and decided to make that actually the thing that these pearls would sit on. And finally, I added these pieces of seaweed. A little bit of a later note. My teacher has Mr. Marquit. We had a big discussion on me trying not to figure out the rocks. I think my seaweed had the similar problem, and I had kind of figured it out. But by the time I actually got to it, it was kind of like too late to actually put it in and fix. Because I wanted to make sure the project got in on time, so you could, do what you need to do and not waste your time. As you can see, these are, just little small sections of each other. I just basically stack them. I kind of just create a copy and just move them and create a nice longer details. Just kind of to build up, make it look different, not just have like the same ones over and over. And finally, I actually almost missed it. It's back here. Is if I can zoom in, is a marble bench that I made. Uh, at first, it was even though it came out in 3ds Max, it actually came out like perfectly unwrapped. When it got into Painter, Substance Painter, I tried putting a once again a stone layer on it, but I also put on a decal on top of that, and it kind of gave this like almost swirly effect, which I actually really enjoyed. The only problem was it would not let me change the color of the decal. So it kind of instead of giving like the color I wanted, which was gonna match the stairs, it kind of just gave me this black, like almost marble color. And I thought to myself later, I'm like, well, actually, if it is marble and it's been underwater for who knows how long, thousands of years, it's gonna start getting that blackish color, and so I actually thought it actually fit well with the view. And like I said, this is everything as a whole. And like I said, whenever I went with the lighting, I just kind of gave it almost a greenish tint just to kind of give it that underwater feel. I think it's here. And just kind of gave it that darkness feel because of it being at the bottom of the ocean.